Hello, everyone. The success or failure of any software company, especially an enterprise software company, depends on its ability to sell product. Joining me here today is Werner Bernabe. Werner Bernabe has been in sales for over 25 years, been very successful, and won numerous awards, and is now in semi-retirement mode. Werner, welcome.
Patrick, thanks for having me.
Great. Werner, we worked together at InSystems, which is a very successful company. And what always struck me about the way you managed yourself at InSystems was the calm demeanor you had. And I could never manage myself in a calm demeanor when I had a $6 million quota on my head. How did you manage yourself and your team? You were a sales manager there. How did you manage your team so calmly?
Patrick, I've always thought that sales was part art form and part science. And again, one of my philosophies was that if you do the right things for long enough, you're going to get the right results. So it was a little bit of that helped me be so calm throughout the sales process.
Great. You talk about sales process. Now, you and I have both had the benefit of solution selling training. I've not gone as deep as you have, but I know you leaned on that methodology at InSystems. Can you shed a little light on that? And perhaps for our audience, there are many different types of sales methodologies out there, but the proof is in the pudding.
Right.
And the story I heard, and I wasn't at InSystems at the time, was that you closed a $1 million sale without doing a software demonstration. Can you tell us a little bit about how that sale happened using solution selling?
Absolutely, and the story is about 95% accurate, and I'll explain the 5% difference. Effectively, on our first conversation that we had with the organization, which was a large insurance company based out of the Northeast, what we did was establish what some of their business issues were and some of the reasons that they were having the issues. And what was also important for us was to also get an understanding, or to bring them to a vision in terms of understanding what kind of capabilities that they were looking for. So after the initial conversation, which was a phone conversation, we documented all of this back to what we believed was our sponsor, our business sponsor at that point in time. And in the process of doing this, it was put together in a draft form, and the sponsor agreed that yes, these were the issues they had, these were the capabilities that they were looking for, and they also gave us some of the underlying reasons for some of their business issues. And also attached with the letter was a plan that we had by which they would be able to evaluate us as a potential solution. So against that backdrop, we actually had a demonstration scheduled in New York City. And our director of sales and I had spent a lot of time planning this out. And as you know, usually before you go through a demonstration, there's a bit of a PowerPoint presentation. And one of the slides that we had in the PowerPoint presentation was a day in the life type of scenario for this particular company. And we had a very active dialogue going back and forth, talking about their issues, talking about the reasons for their issues, talking about people who were impacted by all of the business issues that they were facing.
So a very interactive session, if you will.
Absolutely. All the selection team and the two of us were very engaged. We just had the one slide up and kept talking through it and through it. And by the end of perhaps 45 minutes, I could tell that they were really sold on our capabilities. So as John was actually firing up the PC, ready to show off the product, I simply addressed the rest of the team and I said, well, it looks like you're satisfied with what we came here to talk about today. Is that right? And they said it was right. And at that point in time, they were really sold on us as a solution, and we eventually did have to show the product to other people outside of the selection committee because it was a checklist activity.
Right.
But the selection committee was really sold on us after that one meeting.
Great. Now, you used the term selection committee. Often, in my experience, there's usually one person that has more power than the rest, if you will, or one that carries more weight. Now, solution selling calls that the what is it, the power sponsor?
That's right.
And how do you, often by looking, I guess the power sponsor can't simply be detected by title,
right,
or how nice a suit they have on that day.
Right.
You really need to kind of test that. How do you do that? How do you tell who has the most power in the room, so to speak?
Right. There are a couple of things that you're doing, and you're doing this throughout the whole sales process. And one of the very powerful concepts within solution selling is the idea of quid pro quo. I'll do something for you, but you'll do something for me. So usually you can tell whether someone's a power sponsor by their access to either people or to funds. So either they can control directly, or they can get control through somebody else in terms of either monies or access to people. So, and it's something that you want to be testing out all the time, because sometimes you have these fake power sponsors or fake executive sponsors. So by asking for things in return, whether it might be interviews or the ability to talk to other senior people, for one thing, if they're not senior and if they don't have the power, if they don't have the mandate, they might not be able to get a direct the CIO.
Great. So that's a great litmus test.
That's just one of them.
To help smoke out who really has the power in the room. So to
that's
speak.
Right. The real power sponsor, as opposed to the fake power sponsor or executive sponsor. It's a little bit of terminology.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Now, the other thing we talked about was the ability, I guess, certainly in InSystems case, as a case study, if you will, is that the prices actually rose over time. And tell me how you were able to, did solution selling help there, or how did you manage to raise the price of your product over time?
Solution selling absolutely helped, and I think a little bit of my experience in the enterprise software space also helped. And when I first joined the company, I thought there was a bit of a disconnect between the price that we had and actually the kind of business issue that we were solving. And so when I took a look at it and, taking a look at and thoroughly understanding what the return on investment would be, understanding what the impact to the business would be, and sort of like the nature of the problem, it almost seemed to me that, we had a $50,000 solution for a $3 or $4 million problem. And to me, there was a bit of a credibility disconnect.
So your gut just told you that there was pricing power here, if you will.
Absolutely.
To move upward because you were solving such a big problem.
Absolutely. And I think that, whenever I take a look at a business case, if you can get a return on investment and it's the client's numbers and it's less than a year, it's usually compelling. So it doesn't have to be a return on investment in terms of weeks, but if it can be in terms of months, that is often very, very compelling.
Great.
So the bigger the issue, the more pricing power, as you call it, you have as a software company.
And we all like that in enterprise software.
Absolutely. Yes.
Solve a big problem, get a big amount for the sale. It's a win-win, if you will. Now, solution selling focuses on pain and listening.
Right.
As an example, somebody will ask if a prospect asks a salesperson, "Do you have feature XYZ?"
Right.
Someone without the benefit of solution selling training might answer yes.
Right.
Whereas a senior salesperson what would he do, Werner? What would?
Well, part of the practice of solution selling is to diagnose before you prescribe. And so rather than just throwing features out there, whether it's feature dumping or responding to a prospect, part of what you really want to do is talk about the pains, talk about the business issues, find out what some of the underlying reasons are for those issues, and then try to build a vision against some unique capabilities that you actually have in the marketplace that differentiates you from anyone else. So that's where solution selling, an integrated approach to solution selling where you've got marketing, you've got the executives, you've got the delivery teams, you've got the sales team, sales management. An integrated approach to a prospect really helps. So where we were trained at InSystems and where our teams worked very effectively was to really go through the whole process of diagnosing and trying to find out what the reasons were behind business issues.
So as I understand it, if someone asked you if you had feature XYZ, you wouldn't simply answer yes, you'd ask more questions.
Absolutely, yes.
And try and get behind that question.
Absolutely. And you know, Patrick, it really helps out because you use the process as a way to differentiate yourself from everyone else. So the fact that you're listening and trying to find out what the reasons were, and that you actually could understand what the reasons were through your own past experiences with clients, made you different than, let's say, a lot of other sales organizations out there.
So a depth of understanding would be one way. And the other fun term that's often bandied about in solution selling is verbal diarrhea. Now what does that mean, Werner?
Well, verbal diarrhea is really that whole concept of feature dumping, just talking about what the product does, without any context of what business issues that you're looking to resolve or solve. And you know, the challenge with that, Patrick, is just by throwing features out there, you can actually turn around a great situation and create your own objection. You know, so if you, for instance, you start talking about platforms in advance. So platforms, you know, could be a checklist activity, but why bring that up when it's not relevant? You know,
right.
So that might be just one example. So feature dumping and throwing stuff against the wall, hoping it sticks, not a strategy that we followed.
Right. So more diagnostic, more questions.
Yeah.
Get deeper, a deeper understanding.
More prescriptive, definitely.
Right. So you're the doctor, if you will.
Yeah.
Great. And I guess to end the chapter on our conversation here today about solution selling, InSystems certainly had a happy ending, and maybe you can tell us a bit about the position it got into to make that happy ending possible.
Right. Well, InSystems, and I would attribute solution selling as a large part of it, was able to attract some very prestigious insurance organizations. And so we had a lot of brand names as clients, so a lot of good clients, a lot of strategic clients, clients that companies would want to attract to their bannerhead. And we also had a strategic solution for these insurance companies, and we also had the capability of, once we were within an organization, of growing our footprint of our solution, in fact going to many different divisions. And of course within insurance organizations there are countless number of divisions that they would have.
So the first sale was exactly that, just the first sale. You made subsequent sales into an organization you had already sold to. Exactly.
So there would be many more business units, many more opportunities, so multiple copies of our solution would go in. And so all companies have some sort of exit strategy, whether it's a capital event through an IPO or perhaps being bought out. And in the process of attracting a lot of brand name insurance organizations, we got the attention of a major organization in the States that took a look at our company being strategic in terms of the product as well as the clients, and offered through negotiations and about a 3-to-1 ratio on our revenue line, on our top line. So anywhere from about 300 to 350% as a premium to our revenue line was the price that the organization InSystems was bought out at. So
excellent.
Very successful exit strategy for all the stakeholders.
So what was that amount? What was it, 65 if I remember?
It was close to 100 million US.
Million. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a great ending.
So yes, I don't have the exact numbers, but I've heard enough about the numbers being in that vicinity.
Well, excellent. Well, Werner, certainly a great testament to solution selling, and thank you for coming in here today. I hope to have you back to talk more about solution selling in the future.
Well, thank you, Patrick. It was my pleasure.